Good evening and welcome to the City of Bowie, Module 2 of the Spring 2021 Workforce Development and Life Skills Training Program. Today we have Mr. Mark Lawrence with us from Incubate and his intern Jasmine Brunson. They will be presenting on an introduction to innovation and entrepreneurship, as well as turning problems into opportunities. We will have a second session next Tuesday, also at 6 p.m. on Zoom, and you should all be able to use the same Zoom link you used for this one to attend that session. As always, you can raise your hand if you want to answer a question. You can type in the Q&A. We really appreciate everyone who is punctual, and we're going to give everyone else just a little more time to log on, and then I will turn the presentation over to Mark and Jasmine. I really appreciate all of you guys joining us this evening. And as always, the course materials, a recording of this presentation and the PowerPoint slide deck used and some other resources will be available on the program website. Just so you guys have the information again, here is the program website and my email address and my phone number, and also information from Mr. Jesse Buggs, who's the director of our department. And now here is the agenda for this evening. I'm doing the introduction right now. Jesse wasn't able to join us this evening, but he will probably join you guys next week. And we're going to start with introduction to innovation and entrepreneurship. We'll have a quick break, and then we will return to seeking problems as opportunities. And then we'll have closing remarks, questions, and we will adjourn. We have this blocked out as 2 hours, but we might not take the full 2 hours. It really depends on you guys and your participation. So once again, thank you for joining us. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Mark and Jasmine.
Thank you, Kay. Let me make sure I can get my screen shared. Okay, so hopefully everyone's seeing the full presentation right now.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We want to talk to you a little bit about innovation and entrepreneurship and how do you turn everyday problems into opportunities. I got a little background on the group. I know you're a lively bunch. So again, we're just here to guide you to have a conversation. Yes, there are a lot of slides. We'll be covering a lot of topics, but please feel free to, if you know, stop us, insert questions in the chat, and hopefully we have an interactive dialogue. So a little bit about me. My name is Mark Lawrence. I'm the founding and managing partner of Incubate, and we're an entrepreneurship-led economic development firm, which we focus on helping people explore entrepreneurship as a pathway for opportunities for themselves and for their families. I'm joined today by one of my star interns, Jasmine Brunson, and I'll turn it over to her to let her introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jasmine Brunson. I'm the data science intern for Incubate. Nice to meet everybody, and I hope you enjoy today's webinar.
Okay, great. So first things first, everyone type in the chat. They having any technical difficulties? I want to make sure everyone can see us, hear us, participate in this amazing content we're going to present to you. So please respond in the chat, making sure everyone's okay. Thumbs up. I'm here, I'm present, I'm excited. Okay, I see one. Okay. All right. And then I want you to just think about, what do you want to get out of this webinar? I know you've had exposure to a lot of different topics. You talked about industries of the future. You talked about different skills in cybersecurity. I understand you had a couple of different presentations. We just think about, open your mind, listen to us. We'll talk to you about a couple of concepts around innovation, entrepreneurship mindset, and get you to engage. You don't have to be preconceived or have any notion about these topics. Just want to explore you to a couple of things and talk through some examples and have some fun with some exercises. And there will be a few polls, so there will be some interaction required of you. So, hopefully when those come up, answer those to the best of your ability. So with that, we're going to test out the poll, or the survey. We're going to start with a survey question.
Actually, Mark, I thought that I had the survey thing loaded properly, but it doesn't want to cooperate. So I think you should just read out loud the options and ask them to type in the chat which one fits them best.
Okay, sure. And again, we're being innovative. We're just here. So the survey question is really this, right? So there's three options. I just want to get a sense for who we're talking to. So I see myself as an innovator and I have ideas or love to solve problems. That's one. You could type one, or you could, yeah, just type one. I'll make it easy for you. So if you type one in the chat, if you see yourself as an innovator and you have ideas and or you love to solve problems. It doesn't have to be all three. Just if any of those statements resonate with you, please type one in the chat. The second option, number two, I am interested in being an entrepreneur or working for an entrepreneur. Again, and type in the chat number two, I'm interested in being an entrepreneur or working for an entrepreneur. And then number three, I'm unsure about innovation and entrepreneurship, but interested in learning more. So type three in the chat if you're unsure about innovation and entrepreneurship, but you're interested in learning more.
Just looking over the chat, it sounds like we have a few people who are 1 and 2 and a lot of people who are 3.
Great. Okay. Great to know. So a nice mix. So hopefully we'll have something for all of you in this presentation. But again, feel free to, we love questions. This is prepared content. This is just to guide the discussion, but happy to learn about what you're working on, your ideas, and what you think about innovation and entrepreneurship. So with that being said, let's switch to the outcomes for today. So we're going to introduce you to innovation and entrepreneurial mindset as a skill set for personal and professional success. The second outcome is we're going to provide a sense of what it takes to reframe problem as opportunities to increase value. Because, we'll get into it in a second, innovative and entrepreneurs essentially solve problems, right? They see a problem, they create an opportunity, they solve that. So those are outcomes for today. So let's talk about this a little bit. So, we're talking about workforce development, talking about training, we're talking about innovation, entrepreneurship. But even before that, let's set the context. So the nature of work, the nature of opportunity is really changing in front of your eyes. And you have the advantage of being able to take advantage of that. Because when we talk about skill sets, things that you need, and we talk about skill sets of the future, in my day, I'm dating myself. So that's why I have Jasmine here, because she'll probably be able to relate better. It was about degrees. It was lawyers. The skill set was a legal, engineer, or medical, doctor, or you'd had, scientists, those sorts of things. But when you talk about skill sets now, they're less about a degree or an industry, or they're more about something else, like analytical thinking and innovation, right? Being able to think, analyze, synthesize data, and look at it a different way. Active learning and learning strategies, being able to learn and learn in different ways, right? Learning whether you consume information, learning by watching, learning by doing. So that's a skill set. Being creative, being original, and taking initiative. That's a skill set that we're talking about that's going to be called for in the future. Having an understanding of a basic technology, design, and programming. Being able to convert from an analog to a digital world. Critical thinking and analysis, right? Again, being able to not only analyze, but think about critically, question what you hear, question what you learn, question what you assume, and analyze it. Complex problem solving. The problems of today are very complex, multi-dimensional, multi-layered. So we're looking for a skill set to be able to think about things in multiple dimensions. Leadership and social influence, right? Being able to lead others, being able to communicate and visit, again, physically and virtually. Emotional intelligence. What emotional intelligence is being able to have control of your emotions and yourself in professional service and settings, as well as know how to distinguish when you're in a business setting, whether you're in a personal setting, whether you're interacting with your friends, or whether you're interacting with folks you want to work with, or whether you're interacting with specific clients or customers. There's different behaviors and different ways how you take things. Reasoning and problem solving, and be able to ideate, and then looking at things from a systems view. So I know I just threw a lot at you, but what the whole idea here is that the skill sets you need, or the skill sets that are valued, or the skill sets that you've got to think about that are trending for the future, these are them, and they're not what they traditionally have been. So with that, we're going to show a video, and we're going to make sure this works. I'm going to see if I can get this to work. Hang on. Hang on 1 second. Technical difficulty. Let me make sure I enabled the presentation. Hang on 1 second. Okay, we're having a slight technical difficulty. Bear with me 1 second. Make sure I test the videos out.
Mike, do you want me to try and share it from my screen and play it?
Well, I just pulled up the other document, so I'm going to troubleshoot it during the break. So I have it up now.
Okay.
So hopefully you can see it.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Hi, this is Darren Ike, author of Innovation Step by Step. And what skills should you focus on developing in your life? Why should you focus on Hi, this is Darren Ike, author of Innovation Step by Step. And what skills should you focus?
I'll stop touching it.
Hi, this is Darren Ike, author of Innovation Step by Step. And what skills should you focus on developing in your life? Why should you focus on learning innovation or developing your innovation skills or even doing an innovation program to help you to do that? Well, one reason why is because what is needed for our changing world and our changing world of work are some critical skills. I've looked at a number of research reports, and there are 5 critical skills that keep coming up. These are skills like critical thinking or problem solving. Can you identify the problems that you might be able to solve and see things in detail and deconstruct them? Can you do strategic thinking? Can you have a future vision? Can you create a strategy that fits with you or your organization for the future? Can you exercise creativity? Can you generate ideas? Can you develop ideas? Can you use design thinking to design something better that might be even different and new? Collaboration. You can't do this alone. You need help. Do you have positive relationships? How do you have positive relationships with others? How do you network and utilize your network so that you can do more together and collaborate, have teamwork, partnerships? And then also communication. This is kind of the hard work, right? If you're going to create an innovation or a change or something meaningful, sometimes people don't understand it because it's new. So you have to work hard to help them understand and also influence them to take positive action. And then when you bring all of these skills together, I think you'll be quite excited, right? Because, wow, you're leveraging the skills that are needed most for our future. And this all together becomes leadership skills, where you'll have the skill not only to do these things on your own, but facilitate it with others. You'll be able to not only grow innovation, but grow innovators in your world and in your organization. You'll be able to coach and train innovators. You'll be able to facilitate the innovation process. You'll be able to lead brainstorming sessions, and you'll be able to cultivate an innovation culture. So it kind of keeps happening. So those are the critical skills I'd focus on developing. So where do you start? What are the building blocks? How do you start to do this? How do you start to make these steps up to new levels? Well, I think the key is how do you build your skills to create and develop ideas with others? Because when you do that, you're leveraging a lot of these skills like critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, collaboration, communication, strategic thinking, leadership. Well, a great way to build your skills is actually through doing something real. So in our courses and programs, we guide you through innovation activities, tools, and techniques, and you get to work on your real innovation project, something that's real, something that's meaningful to you, a challenge that you get to pick, that you'd like to generate ideas for, So it's helpful to have a guide to help you to do that, whether that's a book or a course or a program or a workshop, and to make that effective. That will help you to take your skills to the next level. And if you're interested in learning more,
All right, so that's the video. And so Jasmine, what's your feedback while I sort of get us back with the other? So what are your thoughts about it? Because the whole idea is about to be innovative, you sort of got to work on yourself and understand yourself. Can you give us a little bit of perspective on that while I switch back?
Yeah, for sure. So I definitely think there has to be some type of soul searching when you want to become an innovator, because, you know, innovation in itself means change. And so in order to actually be a technologist or, you know, an entrepreneur, or whatever you want to be in life, there has to be some sort of difference you want to make, and difference starts with yourself. So I'll have to say that.
Great, thank you. Okay, so reconstructed here. Let's go back to innovation, right? So as we heard, innovation is often an overused word and it's misunderstood, and people apply different definitions to it. So this is what shows up typically in the dictionary, right? So now, the act or process of innovating doesn't really tell you much, right? But the second definition, a new method, idea, or product. But what I would say to you is that being innovative is just helping people do something different, right? Or helping people do something different to outcomes. And people is somebody, could be a client, it could be a friend, it could be anyone, but it's creating something new or helping some people do something different based on what they already know or a thing. You challenge the status quo, you try to think outside the box. I always hear this term, think outside the box, but really innovation and innovative is really starts with the self, but it's really about looking at things in an open mind, critically, analytically, and different. And that's why I started with those trending skill sets of the future in the beginning. So everyone can be innovative, right? And innovation doesn't always have to be the big tech. It's always also associated with tech. It's always often associated with things you can't touch, but it really few, as long as you're being creative or you're doing something different, you're being innovative. And innovation mostly fails really due to lack of creativity, only because of lack of discipline, because there's structures, there's infrastructure, there's time, there's trial and error, but you have to have that discipline to keep going at it to constantly be considered innovative or being an innovator. And it doesn't need to, only innovation doesn't fail because you're thinking about the big innovations, right? But whether you change your mind or you improve the process just one incremental bit, or you change just one incremental thing, you're being innovative. So what I want to talk to you about next is that innovation or innovating really requires identifying the problems that matter to you, matter to people, matter to the community, and moving through them systematically to deliver elegant solutions. And that goes back to that something different, you know, because knowing when and where to innovate is almost as important of knowing the problem, right? And the innovators seem to tackle the hardest problems first, where there's no easy answer, but you can also start with the easier problems. And innovations really rarely count, or they only known for bringing simplicity, elegance when you talk about hard problems, but there's discipline and there's processes around that, that every problem can be, you know, innovative. So let's see.
hi, this is Dick.
I'm doing some innovation right now to get between presentations to get the videos to work, but we will get it going.
For the past 5 years, I've been investigating this question of where good ideas come from. It's a kind of problem I think all of us are intrinsically interested in. We want to be more creative. We want to come up with better ideas. We want our organizations to be more innovative. I've looked at this problem from an environmental perspective. What are the spaces that have historically led to unusual rates of creativity and innovation? And what I found in all of these systems, there are these recurring patterns that you see again and again that are crucial to creating environments that are unusually innovative. One pattern I call the slow hunch. that breakthrough ideas almost never come in a moment of great insight, in a sudden stroke of inspiration. Most important ideas take a long time to evolve, and they spend a long time dormant in the background. It isn't until the idea has had 2 or 3 years, sometimes 10 or 20 years to mature, that it suddenly becomes accessible to you and useful to you in a certain way. And this is partially because good ideas normally come from the collision between smaller hunches so that they form something bigger than themselves. So you see a lot in the history of innovation, cases of someone who has half of an idea. There's a great story about the invention of the World Wide Web in Tim Berners-Lee. This is a project that Berners-Lee worked on for 10 years. But when he started, he didn't have a full vision for this new medium he was going to invent. He started working on one project as a side project to help him organize his own data. He scrapped that after a couple of years, and he started working on another thing. And only after about 10 years did the full vision of the World Wide Web come into being. That is, more often than not, how ideas happen. They need time to incubate, and they spend a lot of time in this partial hunch form. The other thing that's important when you think about ideas this way is that when ideas take form in this hunch state, they need to collide with other hunches. Oftentimes, the thing that turns a hunch into a real breakthrough is another hunch that's lurking in somebody else's mind. And you have to figure out a way to create systems that allow those hunches to come together and turn into something bigger than the sum of their parts. That's why, for instance, the coffee house in the Age of the Enlightenment, or the Parisian salons of modernism, were such engines of creativity, because they created a space where ideas could mingle and swap and create new forms. When you look at the problem of innovation from this perspective, it sheds a lot of important light on the debate we've been having recently about what the internet is doing to our brains. Are we getting overwhelmed with an always connected, multitasking lifestyle? And is that going to lead to less sophisticated thoughts as we move away from the slower, deeper, contemplative state of reading, for instance? Obviously, I'm a big fan of reading, but I think it's important to remember that the great driver of scientific innovation and technological innovation has been the historic increase in connectivity, in our ability to reach out and exchange ideas with other people, and to borrow other people's hunches and combine them with our hunches and turn them into something new. That really has, I think, been more than anything else, the primary engine of creativity and innovation over the last 600 or 700 years. And so, yes, it's true we're more distracted. But what has happened that is really miraculous and marvelous over the last 15 years is that we have so many new ways to connect and so many new ways to reach out and find other people who have that missing piece that will complete the idea we're working on, or to stumble serendipitously across some amazing new piece of information that we can use to build and improve our own ideas. That's the real lesson of where good ideas come from, that chance favors the connected mind.
Okay, so you all should have received or had the opportunity to receive Stephen Johnson's book, Where Good Ideas Come From. And, and it helps you reinforce that. So what I'd like to do, just real quick, right, in the chat to make sure you guys are still there, still listening. So the question I want to pose is the internet a good or a mostly good or a mostly bad thing, and why? So I'd like folks to take a second, think about it, engage in the chat. And then, Jasmine, I'm going to ask you to lead us off with your opinion and then see if we can get a couple others to join you. So again, the question is the internet a mostly good or mostly bad thing, and then why? Come on, how are we looking?
If you guys don't want to type your answers, you can also raise your hand and we'll unmute you. Anybody?
Anybody?
Okay, Chris raising his hand.
Okay.
Yourself, Chris? And we have a few other comments in the chat that we can read through.
All right, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
So I was gonna say, I feel like the internet's great because there's a lot of very accessible information that you can get. And it's, like I said, it's way easier to get than back when technology and the internet wasn't here. So that's why I feel like it's a great thing to have and use.
So mostly good. So the good outweighs the bad for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So Sophia, if you're willing to type in the chat or if you're willing to raise your hand, why do you think it's mostly bad? Okay, well, what would be the argument? So Jasmine, what are your thoughts? You could take the positive view or the other view and just tell me why. Okay,
Yeah,
negative influences, but go ahead. Okay.
for sure. I was going to so taking both Christopher and Sophia, I kind of had this kind of a similar view, but I'm biased because I'm a data scientist. So of course I love the internet, but I can understand the internet bridging the gap between people communications. I mean, we have ubiquitous amounts of information data that we can consume consistently, but also the bad side to it. And I think that's what Sophia is hinting at is the negative influences in terms of like censorship, right? There's not much censorship on the World Wide Web. You know, it's meant to be open source. It's meant to be open to the world. And so how do you prevent that when you're, you know, introducing the internet to your children? So I can understand both sides, but I personally think that the internet itself can bring change to the world. So.
Great. Yeah, and again, and I feel a similar way as well. Let's see, we got another one. It's mostly good. Different ways it can inspire others, create. So yes, Ava, that is correct. So I sit right in the middle, right? So I think it is, to that point, it is an invention, right? And when I was leaving school, that's when they were deploying the internet. It has transformed the way we consume information and do things in society. And it's sort of democratized access to information, right? But with that, it has to be, it's not a monitored entity. So, right. So you have to think more critically and analytically about the information you can consume on the internet. So there can be negative influences. You can start movements. There's a lot of different type of things that happen. But, you know, overall, this is just a question to evoke dialogue. Neither one is right or wrong, but it's just to see that we're at this unprecedented time of information access, overload, like they were saying in the video. But if you want to be innovative, if you have hunches, you have this thing called the internet to validate assumptions, to reach out to other people and test ideas and those sorts of things. So it's a platform to help move innovation forward. It's not the only platform because there's other more innovative platforms that are coming on. And we'll talk about it. One of, you know, Jasmine's favorite is blockchain, right? Blockchain, which is in the next version of the internet. There's all these things that come on point that you use that when you're thinking about an enabler of innovation. So I want you to consider the internet for right now, this current purpose of this conversation, an enabler, but there's other enablers coming. So with that, let's talk about that. So when people think about innovation, the first thing that comes to mind is always this product, right? It's, you know, again, the techie stuff. You know, I'm going to come up with a new app, or I'm going to do that. But there are really 10 different types of innovation. And the more types you understand and you can incorporate, the more successful your innovation is going to be, right? So you can have something that's very technologically superior, but if it doesn't generate revenue, for instance, how is it going to be sustainable? So what I like to do, we're going to walk through and talk to some examples, and feel free to stop us if you want to dive deep, but we're going to talk about the 10 types of innovation. So when you talk about the 10 types of innovation, they're grouped into 3 categories: configuration, like how you make money, how it's structured and processed; offering, what you're delivering to the marketplace; and the experience that the customer or the consumer has. So again, it's configuration, right? How it's configured; offering, what you offer; and then how do you innovate the customer or the person's experience? So we're going to walk through those here and talk about some examples. So Jasmine, I'm just chime in and you'll tag team with me on these. So talk about profit model, Jasmine.
Yeah, for sure. So an example for a profit model is something that makes you money. So the example we use today is Squarespace. Squarespace is a web services application where you don't even have to need to know how to code, how to program HTML, CSS, JavaScript. All you have to do is use Squarespace, create your website, and boom. The modern day entrepreneur doesn't have to sit there taxingly trying to figure out how to create a website. What are they offering? Websites and also web domains. So that's how they generate revenue.
Great. And again, for an example, when I started my site, I think it's still on Squarespace. It was something I did myself. I picked a template. I knew what photos and the text. So I didn't have to know any detail of coding, but I was able to put up a website because when I was starting to incubate, it was just me by myself, and I needed to cut costs, and I couldn't pay for a full web development shop. So that was an innovation, and there's a bunch of other ones out there, but they are able to generate profits because they took that process, the idea of creating an online presence, and they made it very simple. And it's long lasting. Like I said, my site does need to be refreshed, and we're redoing it in another platform. But right now, it's five years later, it's still on Squarespace. So let's talk about process, right? So it's really not business as usual. It's developing something unique, function efficiently, adapting quickly, being able to handle multiple orders. It's a special sauce. It's not copied. And then there's patents and proprietary system stuff, things like that. So talk to us a little bit about McDonald's and how they innovate on process.
For sure. So not a lot of people know this. Fun fact for today, if you didn't already know, but McDonald's has a patent on the cut of their French fries. So no other fast food company can come out and say, we have this type of French fry, because McDonald's already has a patent. So the way they cook their fries and the way they cut it, no one can copy it. And if they do, McDonald's can they can be subject to getting a lawsuit. Any other company that copies it. So
that's great. And that's a great example, because again, simple thing, the cut of the fries, innovated, and they have a patent. So it's unique that they do it. And I like this example because it takes it out of the tech area. It's the Apple way they cut a fry. That's their innovation, and that's their intellectual property that they've brought to the world. So that's a good example on process. The next one, product performance. Talk to us about Apple and how their product performs, Jasmine, and why you chose that as an example here.
For sure. So everybody knows Apple. I'm sure we're either Apple users or Android users. But what Apple does, every 2 to 3 years, even shorter than that, they come out with a new phone. That's new hardware. But then what they also do that's more ephemeral is that they actually update their software, and they oftentimes do it because software has bugs. And so you have to keep employing new features and new functionality so that your customers can continue coming back to you. And so if Apple decided they're not updating any more software and they're not coming out with a new phone, everybody's going to just become Android users, because Android is going to do that regardless. So that's the importance of just keeping up with the pace and making sure you're up to date with software and what the customer wants.
Right. And another thing about Apple that because I started out as an engineer. So Apple, I learned on early Apple. I went to Microsoft, and I came back to Apple. They integrate their hardware and software. So there's hardware and software is designed to work together, and they like to use elegant, they've gone more with the metals, but they like to use elegant feature and functionality design. They experiment, some things work, they experience, some things don't, but they're known for having the superior performance because of the way they build their products. All right, Jasmine, talk to us about service and Amazon. I know everyone knows about Amazon. Hopefully they see the trucks coming by.
For sure. So as you see the examples here, ensuring and enhancing the performance perceived from your value offering, what you're offering your customers. In this case, what Amazon's offering is products, right? They started off as a bookstore, online bookstore, and then they expanded to more household items and to more utility items. And then they ended up having a ubiquitous catalog of items. And so now, Amazon as a tycoon when it comes to everyday items. And so when it comes to service, that's exactly what that is. They're giving you a service. They drop it off to your home and you get it instantly. You don't have to worry about going to the post office anymore. So that's Amazon.
And Amazon has done it so well, right? They've innovated their supply chain. They've moved products that they know people may buy closer to them, that you can get same day delivery on certain things. And all that's innovative. It's nothing very complex, but they knew that for a certain portion of what they sell, and they take the data from what people order, they stock those locally at warehouses so that you can get them faster. So that's Amazon. And they continued to grow during the pandemic. I don't know who doesn't use Amazon or try not to. You almost have to. They're like the Postal Service now for getting packages and products delivered to your home. All right, close us out with customer engagement and Instagram.
Oh, for sure. I know a lot of you guys are I hope you all were familiar with the last couple examples, but this one definitely, everybody uses Instagram. So customer engagement. Instagram is known to use data analytics resources to and they actually have it for their consumers too. You can check out how many people have looked on your page for a certain period of time. But on the back end for Instagram itself, they analyze what you like to look at. And as you see on that feed page, that very last page that has like conglomerates and just pictures of different types of things that you like, the reason why they have that is because of data analytics. They analyze your behavior. And so that's part of customer engagement, even though some parts of data analytics can be kind of fleeting, especially when it comes to exploitation and privacy. But we're not going to talk about that today. But
All right, great. I like that. So let's launch the next poll question. Okay, do I have to read this out, or did we get this one to work? All right, I'll just read it out. Are we able to?
Sorry.
Okay, there we go. So just answer number one for us, because we haven't gave you the content for number two. So how many types of innovation exist? A, 3, B, 5, or C, 10? I'll give you guys about a minute to answer. Okay. Have any answers come in yet, Kay?
I believe that there are a few more people who haven't voted. So if you guys want to vote, you can. A few more people voting. All right, that's about a minute. So
Okay, so what answer came up, or Dama?
most people said 10.
All right, great. So yes, there are 10 types of innovation. There's 3 categories, but there are 10 types of innovation, and we covered a summary. So with that, I think we are at our first break. So why don't we take about 5 minutes, stretch your legs, grab a beverage, water or juice, and let's be back here at 6:40. Let's just say 6:43. 6:43. We'll give a minute or so.
At 6:43, and I will give everyone a 1-minute warning before we get started. So at 6:42, I will say 1-minute warning.
Okay.
And get up and do your stretches. All right, everybody, it's about 1 minute warning until we reconvene. So please get back from fetching drinks and standing up and stretching. We will reconvene in about 1 minute. Thanks, everyone.
All right, I have 8:43.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. We're going to get started up again.
Okay. And I think I fixed the video. So great. I did that during the break. So let's talk about company and business, right? Because we're talking about entrepreneurship, which we'll get into next. But from a business or entrepreneurial perspective, at the most part, innovations really often means implementing new ideas, creating dynamic products, or improving existing services to help someone reach the next exponential growth of a company, right? So I've changed the way that I offer my legal services. I now do them online. I improve the way I deliver food, home food delivery, but I get paid, I get compensated and business model of that. So let's talk about a couple business innovation examples. So just to make the concept real. So I don't know how many of you are, but I assume some of you or most of you have taken Uber if you've been in the city or if you've been on travel. But realize that Uber is the world's largest taxi company and they own no vehicles, right? So think about that. So typically a taxi, if I was a taxi driver, I'd have to get a license to operate a taxi. I'd have to get my vehicle and I'd become part of a taxi cab company. I have to maintain and operate the vehicles. They'd be painted a color. They have signs and things like that. And inside each vehicle, they have digital, sort of meter that meters how far I've gone. It escalates the price and it provides me a receipt. Uber came in and innovated that. They said, look, we'll create an app. And how Uber started was a lot of executives used to rent Lincoln Town cars and Suburbans, and they used to rent them for the day, right? And they used to sit around. If I'm an executive of the company, I had to go to a meeting, the car would wait for me all day. And then some of those companies that own those limousines or those black or those town cars said, while the executive's there, that they could have a time-based way to generate more revenue by settling other folks around town. They could do that before they went back and picked it up. So that scaled. They got an app, they got a platform, and now Uber, there's Uber, they deliver people and they deliver food, right? So Uber Eats. So I'm sure folks have either ordered a meal from their favorite restaurant during the pandemic on Uber Eats. And what it is, that same driver, instead of taking people, he could also pick up, a meal and deliver it to your home. So again, that was very innovative and very disruptive. So they are the world's largest taxi company, right? They're larger than any other individual and they own no vehicles. Another innovative example from business is Airbnb, right? So what the whole idea around Airbnb is that, say I want to go to the Bahamas, right? And I don't want to stay in a hotel, or, the hotel costs are very high or prohibitive and I want to save some money. I can rent out a room or a place or some hotels for the excess capacity make their rooms available through the Airbnb platform. I prepay for it up front. I assign a cleaning fee. I get to meet the host. They have their restrictions. So they're the world's largest accommodation provider, but they own no real estate. So they use technology to create a platform that I can list my home, my vacation home, or any sort of asset that I have in real estate, and people can rent it out. And then there's a cleaning fee and all that other about it. So what we'll do now is hear a little bit more about the Airbnb case.
People love Airbnb because it's cheaper and it provides a lot of different kinds of housing offers that fit the needs of all kinds of travelers. You are not limited to hotel rooms anymore. Now, whether you're alone or a family of 6, you can find a unique place that fits you perfectly with the exact criteria that you like. Airbnb started off with customer innovation by creating a new market of people who would rent rooms in other people's homes. Before Airbnb, it was inconceivable to let a random stranger sleep in one of the rooms of your house. As a matter of fact, most investors refused to invest in Airbnb because of that, and later they deeply regretted it. Since then, Airbnb started to list full units on their platform and got access to a much bigger market, which is vacation rentals. Now that Airbnb grew so big, it all seems so obvious, but let's quickly remind ourselves how things were before that. First of all, the market for apartment rentals existed way before Airbnb. You could rent your own flat to someone using websites like Craigslist, but it wasn't anywhere close to the global success that Airbnb is now. So why was it like this, and what did Airbnb do differently? The main problem of this market was mostly due to trust issues, because most people were worried about the idea of letting someone else live inside their home, either with them or alone. What if they would break something in your flat or trash it completely? What if they're just crazy and dangerous people? This is a normal fear that many people still have, even with Airbnb, and it was the main challenge that Airbnb had to overcome. They managed to do it thanks to trust by design. That's what Joe Gebbia explains in his TED video, and you can find the link for it in the description. Using a robust system of identity verification and reviews for both hosts and guests, Airbnb managed to create a community of people that strive to behave nice to each other. Nobody wants a nasty negative review about themselves, whether it's for owners or travelers. So the review system is at the center of the trust solution, and this trust was carefully designed by Airbnb team. And design fits right into the value proposition block, as you probably already know if you have seen our previous videos. So, trust by design is the main piece of Airbnb business model, which allowed it to grow so fast because everything else is just an obvious advantage. Airbnb is not a real estate rental company, but an online marketplace that puts guests and hosts in contact. So they don't have all the real estate and operational fees that hotels have. In case of hotels, their buildings are their key resources, but it depends on whether it's a franchise or if it's fully owned, etc. But for Airbnb, homeowners are their key partners. And hotels' key activities are hospitality management, but for Airbnb, it's mainly marketing, maintenance of their platform, and customer service. As of today, another important activity for Airbnb is dealing with local legislations who are under hotel lobby pressure to limit vacation rental market. But at some point, hopefully, this will be settled. Anyway, the fact that they are a marketplace creates two main value proposition advantages. Prices are lower than traditional hotels, and there's an infinite variety of housing offers, not just typical hotel rooms with double beds. You can find exactly what you need depending on the number of people that are in your traveling group and the housing criteria you're looking for. Airbnb constantly keeps optimizing the design of their service. It's very easy to book for guests, and all the steps are very clear when you're browsing the listings. It's also extremely easy for hosts to list a unit, start renting, and do all kinds of operations on Airbnb platform, such as collecting deposit fees, for example. So all of this is design innovation. As usual, it's important to reduce the number of obstacles for people to make a purchase, meaning to book an Airbnb listing, but also for the hosts to list their homes. Since the survival of these platforms depends on both sides, in this case, guests and hosts, the same logic of obstacle and risk reduction applies to the homeowners as well, so they can start renting safely and easily. That's the main reason why Airbnb put in place a $1 million fund guarantee in case of major damages done to an owner's property. So Airbnb started off with customer innovation, and once they got into the existing vacation rental market, they innovated on the business model in the value proposition block: trust, lower prices, and offer variety. Now, where do they go from here? Well, Airbnb made it pretty obvious. They want to reproduce the same model where they are the intermediary in a market related to hospitality. So they created experiences. Think of anyone who is an Airbnb host who can also become a tour guide. The host creates an experience, whether it is a city tour, hike, a visit of secret places, tasting local kitchen, yoga classes, it can be anything. You don't need professional tour guides anymore. Maybe a host can do a much better job and be more creative than the traditional companies. So Airbnb is now disrupting this part of the tourism industry, just as they're doing it for the housing one. They are not changing or evolving their main business model when it comes to housing rentals, but they're duplicating the same model for a related industry. And because they can apply the same review system as they already have for housing, they can unleash the creativity of thousands of people who will create innovative experiences for travelers, and all of this for lower prices. Once again, trust, lower prices, and offer variety. People love.
So again, what we like about Airbnb, even during the pandemic, right? So the whole idea is that whole idea of trust and building community has enabled them to create a platform for both people who own homes or people that want a vacation or own property so that they can get together. So that's an example tying the concepts together where we talked about the 10 different types of innovation. They didn't use all 10, but they took the business model, profit model, and customer experience. They had some innovation around that. So that closes sort of our comments about innovation and having the innovation mindset. Now let's switch to entrepreneurship. And what I'd like for you, Jasmine, if you're back, to come on screen, just talk about your journey, right? And talk a little bit about you. Because when I first met Jasmine, I was judging a pitch competition at Prince George's Community College, and she wowed me, right? It was less about the idea, it was more about her presentation skills, her passion, and her passion of being an entrepreneur, right? So the whole, I guess, perception or conception about entrepreneurship is you're only an entrepreneur if you're successful. No. So the entrepreneur is one that continually tries and continually challenges the envelope and does that. So Jasmine, just share a little bit about your story and go back to the old days of your, you know, one of your early ideas that you were pitching when you were thinking about this thing called entrepreneurship.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So it's funny enough, I started out my entrepreneur journey with pitch competitions, one of which was hosted by Nifty Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship. But, you know, when I was matriculating at the university, at Prince George's Community College, I heard about the Pitch Gladiator competition, and I already had an idea, and it was called VO. And VO was going to blend VR and also music streaming and blend it together.
Wait,
Both,
first of all, before, tell them what year that was first, because
that was 2018.
okay, continue.
Yeah, that was 2018. And so had that idea, expounded on it. And so I think the big thing for any entrepreneur, especially a young entrepreneur, is just to always be vigilant, always be persistent, never give up, because this is a slippery slope. Entrepreneurship is not just hard successes. Unfortunately, that's what you see in the media with them to tell you is what their successes are, but it's a lot of failures. It's a lot of, you know, getting on the ground and scraping your knee, but you got to get back up. And you also have to be a keen learner, always be willing to learn something new, right? So that's my view on entrepreneurship pertaining to what I've done.
Right. But what's potent about that story, again, she was blending VR with a music streaming service, right? And I would say timing is always another thing, right? So she was ahead of the market with that idea, right? Because that was before the proliferation of Oculus headsets that were affordable. That was before this whole immersive industry that was starting to burgeon. So again, you know, I don't think you give up on it yet. Maybe recast it and see if you can relaunch it. But again, it's having those ideas and just trying them and being willing to share them. And I think you won that competition too, even though I think you won the prize. So again, you could be ahead of your time. The idea could fail, it's something to try, but you got up, you took that shot and you communicated something different.
Right, right.
So the whole idea why I had Jasmine tell her story, and I'll tell mine a little later, you know, I have a couple of them, right? That just with a good idea and a lot of grit and determination, anyone can become an entrepreneur. So that's if one of the key things I want you to take away from the session and what we're presenting, being an innovator, being an entrepreneur, anyone can do it. You just have to have, like we said, an innovation, the discipline around it. And with entrepreneurship, you have to be persistent, right? And often when we see entrepreneurship, we think about Shark Tank, right? But entrepreneurship still is the backbone of the American dream. We need people to be creative, to be outside the box, and to start things, right? So if you don't see yourself in a traditional workforce path, or something that you're passionate about from an accounting perspective, or if you want to be a lawyer or a doctor, and I'm not dissuading people that do that, but just know that being an entrepreneur is more and more becoming a profession itself. Because before, entrepreneurs used to be associated with the ventures that they worked on, but now entrepreneurs are becoming these people, right, that are working on multiple ventures. Because what I like to do is say that I focus on incubate, I want to focus on creating serial entrepreneurs, people that create stuff, get it to scale, sell it, and do it again. So I want you to know that entrepreneurship can be a profession, and you don't have to have the mega success. You just have to have enough to sustain and create a life for yourself so that you continue. And a lot of the entrepreneurs I'm dealing with now, they are getting all the ones that are getting successful. They've started early in their 20s with their failures. They've gotten jobs, they're coming back. And now that they've done it a couple of times, they're in that rhythm of they're banding together and they're starting ventures and they're transforming communities. So the whole idea, and that's why this isn't about the midpoint of the presentation today, is that as long as you have that idea, and we talked about where good ideas come from, and you have persistence, anyone can be an entrepreneur. So that's what that slide says. But why is this important, right? So we need more entrepreneurs, right? So we need people to participate in what we're calling the innovation economy, whether you're an entrepreneur, you're the leader, the CEO, or if you're an entrepreneurial employee working in an entrepreneurial environment, because those environments call people to have multiple roles, call for them to do different things, call for them to be very flexible. And some of this data is from Nifty, so it's funny that Jasmine mentioned that, but we know that even if you don't start your own business, 1 in 3 US employers seek people with entrepreneurial experience as their hires. So they want the folks that are trying to do things on this. Maybe they have been successful, maybe they haven't. As long as you've had that entrepreneurial experience, a US employer, 1 in 3 of them are looking for that. Think about it like this, another statistic, by the year 2030, there will be at least 600 million more young people looking for work than projected jobs, right? So the traditional idea of a job, there's this thing called the gig economy where people are going online and becoming solo entrepreneurs, selling their skills that way. People don't get jobs in sort of coding and web development like they used to, just to say, for lack of a better term. They have a skill set and they market it to the other people, and they do that because a lot of companies can't afford to keep those people on staff consistently, so they outsource and make it project-based. So those are entrepreneurial, and that's entrepreneurial. And then from an entrepreneur, from a starting perspective, new businesses count for all of the net new job creation of for 20% of the jobs that are created each year in the United States. So from 20%, so imagine that 20% out of 100, right? So doing the math comes from entrepreneurial ventures because they create new jobs. And it's not creating a ton of jobs, like hundreds of jobs, 50, it's creating maybe 1 or 2 others, people to work with you. So small businesses, and specifically in this region, are a large part of the economy. So we need more people with that entrepreneurship mindset. And then the other case is that, entrepreneurs, need to, from ages 20 to 34, have been on the decline. And entrepreneurship, the rate of entrepreneurship overall has been flat, if not declining over the past 40 years. So we need more people to get into have the idea or experience or toy around or experiment with entrepreneurship. So that's the background in the case. So now we'll switch and talk to you about some of the entrepreneurship mindset components, and I'll have Jasmine sort of guide us through this portion, and I'll chime in, right? So the fundamental question you have to ask yourself, Jasmine, do you need access to a lot of resources to be an entrepreneur?
That's a great question. I would say no.
Okay. What do other people think? If a couple people in the chat, if you're so bold, do you need access to a lot of resources to be an entrepreneur?
Several people have said no.
Okay, good. All right, so good. We debunked that myth automatically. So again, just some basic entrepreneurship mindset vocabulary, right? We talked about this, a problem, a source of perplexity, distress, or something that vexes people, right? A solution, an action or process that solves a problem. An entrepreneur, someone who creates and owns a business, but also someone who solves a problem. Risk, this idea of the chance of losing something or having a negative outcome, right? Because entrepreneurship is built with uncertainty. So you have to be comfortable with risk. Business, an organization that provides products or services to make money, and a reward, what entrepreneurs get in exchange for starting a business. It can include money, personal satisfaction, independence, or positive impact on the economy and community. And some of the most passionate entrepreneurs you meet, right, don't necessarily do it for them. No, oftentimes don't do it for the money. The money is important to them, but it's the independence, it's the ability of building, creating something, and it's the ability to really change the world, or change a process, or change a community, or change a person's life. So those are all the things that go into the mindset of an entrepreneur. So with that, there are three sort of mindset components, back to those definitions: being comfortable with risk, critical thinking and problem solving, which goes back to those 21st century skill sets, and creativity, innovation that goes to that. So Jasmine, you want to walk us through comfort with risk?
For sure. So comfort with risk just means to say you anticipate challenges, you're open to new options, you evaluate costs and benefits when making decisions. You're willing to, or willingly, change course in pursuit of new opportunities. So that's just pivoting when you have like a new idea or a new venture. And then also develop a plan to achieve goals and obstacles. You always want to start off with a plan. Hey, I want to start a catering business. Okay, what is your plan?
Jasmine, your
We
mic.
lost your audio. We lost your audio. Maybe it might.
Sorry about that. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Awesome.
The AirPods need to charge. Give it a couple minutes.
But you don't want to start a catering. Is that what you guys heard? Catering
Yeah, catering.
business.
Catering. We stopped the catering business.
You don't want to start a catering business and not know, okay, who's going to be your caterer? Who's going to be your caterers? Are you going to do a food truck? Do you want to have it, a brick and mortar? You actually want to have a plan. You just don't want to go in, because that's a very firm way to lose a lot of money. You do not want to lose a lot of money starting out.
Right. But being comfortable with that is that you are taking that chance. You think that, back to the catering example, you have a delicacy, you can grow an audience, you can get people to purchase what you're creating, and you go out and test it. And you got to be comfortable, because it's not sure. So, some days you may have a lot of customers, some days you may have a few, depending on where you park your truck, your food truck, whether, people have access. So there's a lot of uncertainty. So you have to be comfortable with that risk.
Mhm.
So now let's think of a time when you had to decide on an action that could have good or bad consequences. What made you decide to act or not to act? What questions did you ask yourself in order to make that decision? So take a couple minutes. I'd like maybe one or two people to raise their hand or chime in, speak about it, or type it in the chat. And again, it could be about anything. It doesn't have to be about business, about innovation, but just entrepreneurship. But when you had to decide on something, because it's a risk. Risk is inherent in all the decisions we make. So let's take 2 minutes to think about that. Then I'll ask for some feedback. And then, my default person is going to be Jasmine. So let's take 2 minutes to think through that. And you can either raise your hand or you can type it in the chat if you feel more comfortable. Let's give it another minute. I don't know. Is there any activity in the chat?
No, not right now. Come on, guys.
Well, maybe if Jasmine starts, someone will chime in while that. So Jasmine, what's the answer to it? Yeah.
Yes. So, for example, if I started a keto diet and I decided, hey, I'm going to start this diet, and there's a cupcake in my refrigerator, I have a few options. I ignore the cupcake or I get the cupcake. And getting the cupcake is not a good choice. So,
Right. So did you decide to get the cupcake or not?
actually did.
And then what did you ask yourself to make that decision when you get the cupcake?
That's a great question. I think I asked myself, can I work this off? And the answer was yes. So
Right. So you figure out the consequences that, yeah, you'll take the risk of consuming the cupcake while you're on a diet, but you're going to work it off to make up for that. And it's typically called diet cheat days. So they're built in. So again, the fact that you had that cupcake didn't deter you from the diet. It's just that you knew you had to compensate your action and activity to do that. Correct?
right.
All right. So anyone, last call, anyone? Okay.
Noah
Yeah.
says,
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Jasmine.
yeah, I had to decide on what high school. Oh, yeah, I had to decide on what high school to go to based on the program.
Okay. So what made you decide, and what, again, program? Okay, so Noah, if you mind typing in the chat, what made you decide, what was the factors to your decision of which high school you had to go to? Outside of the program, what type of program? Can you be a little bit more specific?
That is a hard decision. When I was deciding which high school I was going to, I had about 10 schools.
Okay. And I think someone else, was that Shana? You couldn't think of anything specific, but you'd have to have discipline. Yeah, and the discipline, again, it's a consequence. So let's be honest, right? Life is full of good or bad decisions and good or bad consequences. And it's how you act and how you react to them or that determines success. And I've seen a lot of people come back from bad decisions or bad consequences. And I've seen people that have good consequences fall into bad times. So the whole idea is being comfortable with that risk and still acting, right? So action. So let's see what else is in the chat. Okay, you have to have some factor of location and resources and the end result, associate's degree. Okay, that's good. So that's comfort with risk. So I think you guys get that concept. So John, let's talk a little bit about critical thinking and problem solving, because I think you do this very well. So talk to me a little bit about your process. And just by the nature of what you undertake in technology and being in data science, I think this is right up your alley. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes. So part of just overall critical thinking, you want to analyze the data. You want to understand it critically. Think about a problem objectively instead of just subjectively. Think through a process, ask questions, like I said earlier, and then use evidence to develop, and support effective arguments. So that just means to say that in critical thinking, you want to start off with the hard questions first. You want to start off with the hard questions and then build off of that. You want to branch off of that. Yeah, that's me.
Great. And again, and part of this is multiple perspectives too, right? So bouncing, problems or ideas off of others, because a lot of the things entrepreneurs do is very collaborative, right? We like to try to go at it by ourselves, but we need to collaborate and engage other people. So let's test that. Here's another one, and hopefully we get a lot of participation here. So what are the most important things to consider when picking out a birthday gift for a friend or a family member? So let's take about 2 minutes, right? Because again, it's a critical thinking and you're solving a problem. What are the most important things to consider when picking out a birthday gift for a friend or family member? So I'll give you a couple minutes to type in the chat. So
John says what they enjoy.
Yep.
We also have Ava's raising her hand. So
Okay, so good. So Ava, do you want to speak? Go ahead. What are the most important things to consider when picking out a birthday gift for a friend or family member?
I guess just knowing the person, what they like, what they enjoy, and I guess what they maybe need and what they want in life.
Got it. Great. Look, see, I knew this one would get a lot of response because, see, again, seems simple activity, but you're using critical thinking and you're solving the problem. You're understanding the person who you're buying the gift for. You're taking into account what they like, what their interests are, you're picking out a gift that's suitable, right? And if you buy the same person gift over the years, always have a theme or things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. So you guys get critical thinking and problem solving. So let's go to the third sort of mindset component, creativity and innovation. Jasmine, talk us through this.
My favorite, one of my favorites at least, creativity and innovation. So identifying problems and needs and come up with inventive solutions. Question conventional wisdom, take risks, acquire and make effective use of resources, and then test out ideas. So all this means to say is it's kind of like trial and error, right? It's trial and error. You want to take risks. And so what happens is some people actually come to entrepreneurship with creativity already embedded in them. And it just makes it so much easier to kind of like not mold and conform to what society fits as an entrepreneur, but to expound. And when it comes down to that, you're creating a brand. So why not be a brand yourself? So that's pretty straightforward.
Right. And creativity and innovation, again, it's just boundary words are just unlimited possibility, right? So you can be creative, you can challenge, you can question what you believe, what other people believe, and you just test it. And it's really about reinventing, not really the solution, but reinventing the outlook or the perception that folks see with any dimension that we're talking about. So here's this idea. This is going to take a little bit longer. So I'm going to give you maybe 5 minutes, right? So if folks are in front of their computer, they want to type, or if you feel more comfortable writing, right? We want you to have an imaginary conversation with your best friend. I want you to write 4 lines of dialogue about where you are going to eat next weekend. And I know it's COVID time, so imagine you could go out, or if you are going to order in, or you're just going to eat. You're going to eat, and maybe not necessarily go out, but you're going to eat with your best friend next weekend. Here's the catch. You cannot use the letter E in any word in any line of the dialogue. So again, have an imaginary conversation with your best friend, type them 4 lines or 4 texts, right? And you're gonna, where are we gonna eat, or where are you gonna eat next weekend? And I know it's COVID time, so we're about what are you gonna eat, but see if you can't use the letter E in any word in any line of the dialogue. So I'm gonna give you 5 minutes for that. So let's think about that, and we'll talk about what, 7:18. And I want the whole thing though, I do want at least 1 or 2 people to read what they wrote, and don't care how silly it sounds, just want to hear it. Okay, thanks.
I'm enjoying some of these results you guys have typed so far. Hi, us food now is great.
Yeah, I do, right? Just type them in the chat. Yep.
I also like anything that starts with sup, girl.
Yeah, sup, girl? You want food? That's pretty good. That's pretty funny. All right, come up with some more lines. Think about a couple more. Oh, you almost had it. You almost had it, Matthew. Almost. You almost had it. If you put it, I should have got the sandwich. You would have made it. Oh, that was close. I plan to visit Arby's. You're super. I like it. They're super hungry. That's pretty funny. These are great. All right, one more minute. I think you guys are getting it. So yeah, you getting very creative and very innovative. And I'm sure if this was on your phone, right? So the whole idea of this too, right? So some folks have sketched out emojis and done other things as well. And the emojis have become part of their dialogue. All right, Matthew, good cleanup. Okay, one more minute, because these are very interesting. Come on, give me some most creative ones you got.
Bowl of soup.
Oh, that's disgusting. All right, what would you suggest? I thought so. All right, these are great.
Last call for submissions, and then we're going to move on from this segment.
Yep. And then we got another quick break.
Nice.
These are great. Yeah, these are great. So again, very creative, very innovative. We took a simple sort of activity and put one little constraint on you guys, and you came up with ideas. Wait, I see a wait. Okay, wait, one more coming.
No, he used the word some and then realized that that he had included an E.
Oh, well, you could have put the number
To get some
one.
food.
Yeah,
Close.
that's all right. But again, it's very creative. You guys are very creative, very innovative. So we talked about creativity, innovation. So poll question number 2. And I know I'll just read them, right? Okay, I'll just read them out. Oh no, there we go. So what are the main components of the entrepreneurial mindset? Take a minute to answer this.
We already did question number 1, so you guys can ignore
Yeah.
that. We'll give you guys another 10 seconds to vote.
Yep. Okay, what are we looking like?
So the results, most people said all of the above. A few people said comfort with risk, critical thinking, and creativity.
Okay. So yes, all of the above. That's right. All right, so we're at the point. I know we went through that module very fast. So we'll do a shorter break this time. So what do you want to say, Kay? About 2-3 minutes to stretch?
Let's say 2 minutes. It's 7.
Okay.
Oh, 3 minutes just to be round numbers. At 7:17, we will reconvene at 7:20, and I will give you a 1-minute warning at 7:19.
All right, so you guys earned a break. We'll be right back.
All right, 1-minute warning, everybody. It is 7:19. We will start back up at 7:20. Finish your stretching and your water breaks. All right.
All right.
7:20. Back to
All
you.
right, we're back. It's a quick break. So this last module we're going to talk about, and we have an exercise at the end, is really that, we talked about innovation, we talked about entrepreneur mindset, but actually seeing problems as opportunities, right? Because problems exist, and innovators, entrepreneurs, creators solve problems, and because what they do is they see them as opportunity, right? So not saying problems don't happen, they don't occur, but it's really about this journey, right? So for some people, the problem is here, right? He's got left on the road, didn't have a ride, but the opportunity could be for him to jog and stretch his legs. So it's really about your mindset and your perception about that. So, what we're going to do, there's a video here that talks about that. We're going to go through some exercises, and then we have an interactive exercise for the group, okay?
That's not good.
This is, if the sound is going, it's too low for anyone to hear.
Somebody will come.
Now we
Anybody
can.
out there?
Is that better?
Yes, that was better.
Okay.
Do you have a phone?
No. Sorry. Somebody. Hello. There are two people stuck on an escalator and we need help. Now, would somebody please do something? Help! I don't believe this. You gotta be kidding me.
I'm gonna cry.
Well, something else left to do.
Hello. Hey, don't worry about it. I'll fix it in a second.
He said he can fix it. All right. All right. That's more like it. He says he can fix it.
So the whole idea with that, right? The problem was they were stuck on the escalator, right? And I know you were thinking to yourself, why don't they just walk, right? So again, it's about the mindset and the perception. So the problem was the escalator got stuck, but the opportunity was for them to continue and walk up the stairs, right? They would still made it to their distance and those things like that, because accept that problems are inevitable, right? Because they are, right? And then what it says, when you steal yourself to your first impression, right? So their first impression was the escalator was stuck, right? So they was able for them to see that, or, it was an exaggeration, but I like that example because it's corny and it emphasized the point. But the exaggeration was the easiest thing for them to do was just to walk up the escalator. But they were so close to the idea that the escalator was stuck that they were close to the problem that they didn't see that opportunity. And then really, there was not really any threats. There was no one chasing them or anything there, but learn to objectively evaluate threats and sort of consequences, because basically from a mindset perspective and just philosophy, like innovators and entrepreneurs, they know that dwelling on problems cause stress and it hampers productivity, the ability to think clearly. And if you talk to any successful entrepreneur, any successful innovator, you'll find a positive attitude. You'll find that they have a mentality that they can handle challenges and adversity a little differently. And then rather than them seeing as problems as burdens, they see them as opportunities whether to learn for something that went wrong, an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to improve, the opportunity to adjust. So it's just looking at problem. And again, problems are inevitable. They happen. I'm not utopian. I'm not naive. But if you look at them a different way, it's not what happens to you, it's how you react to it. It puts you in the mindset to be innovative, to be creative, and come up with opportunities and solutions. And some of the, most successful entrepreneurs, they started a business because of a problem they were personally experiencing, right? Or a challenge. And some of it's been some life consequences, some of it's just been convenience. But they start with taking something they saw as a problem as an opportunity and creating a solution around that. So with that, think of a particularly difficult problem that you're having right now, or not difficult, just any problem. And again, you don't have to answer this, but I just want you to, this is my pseudo meditation exercise for you before we go into the activity. But have a problem in your mind right now. So a difficult problem you're having right now. You don't have to share it. Just think about it. Now I want you to close your eyes if you can, right? And because you just hear my voice, you don't really have to look at me. Imagine this problem as a random hardship, something that's occurring in the universe that doesn't care about you or your evolution. So the problem is not about you, even though it's your problem, it's very difficult. Imagine that problem does not care about you or your evolution. So I'm sure that's, evoking a feeling. Now think of that same problem, that problem you have in your mind, as a challenge posed by the universe that wants you to evolve and knows that you can succeed and overcome that. So now think of that same problem. First, it was a hardship. Now think of it as a challenge, and that wants you to grow and evolve, and it knows that you can. Yeah, because most people find it hard to see the upside when things are difficult. The exercise helps you tap into higher forces that can move you through your challenges. So one thing I want to close you with, and you can type yes or no, but the way I phrase it, when we from the second bullet to the third bullet, did it make you feel more motivated and you envisioned yourself as someone that can solve the problem or advance it? Or how did you feel when you thought about it as something that you're meant to overcome, you're meant to evolve, you're meant to grow from? If anyone wants to type in chat, it's okay, but it's just a mental exercise. So I'll give you about 30 seconds to see if anyone pops up. Okay, but that's fine. But the whole idea is your mindset, right? So you look at it as, if you see it as a barrier, a hardship, you're going to react to it differently than if you see it as a challenge that you're meant to overcome from, right? And there's many slogans and many sayings about, what doesn't make you tough makes you stronger. So there's a whole methodology behind this mindset. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Jasmine, and we're going to play another game.
Okay. You can go to the next slide. Yeah, so this is going to be the celebrity product innovation game. Hope you guys enjoy. Next slide. Oh, go back. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly, but this is the game. So you want to brainstorm one or more of your favorite technologists. One or more of your favorite technologists, artists, athletes, entrepreneurs with their own product. So this is just to brainstorm, like, can you actually think about a celebrity and tie a product to them? So my favorite is Rihanna and Fenty Beauty. And then we're going to talk about these experiences and how it pertains to you. But I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. Can everybody see?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So at the top of the Zoom, you should either see you are viewing Jasmine's screen, and it should also have a tab right next to a black tab. When you click on that tab, you should see an annotate feature, and you just click on it. And if you have any difficulties, just let us know in the chat. But here you just want to list your favorite, like I said, entrepreneur, and then hyphen what that product is. And if you overlap with anybody, you can always drag the content. So just let us know if you don't see the annotate feature, will help you. And when you're done, you can just click anywhere and it should just pop up.
Right, and to be clear, the annotate's under the view option, the drop down, and then you annotate, just to make sure everyone's understood.
Does anybody have any comments?
I don't know if that feature's enabled for them or not. I haven't used it before, so.
Well, let's see, because I'm there.
Worst case scenario, you guys can always drop it in the chat. But you should be able to drop it. But like I said, think about your favorite entrepreneur, whether it be somebody who is a technologist, who's and you actually have to use text. You have to click text, and then when you click text, you can put in the person's name and then their item. But you can also drop it in chat if the annotation feature is not working. Okay. Diddy, Sean John.
No one's gonna say Beats by Dre.
Oh, go back. Okay. Jeff Bezos, Amazon.
Elon Musk with Tesla. Cool.
Give it like one more minute. Jay-Z and Tidal. Nice. Nice. Yes, that was a power play. That was definitely a power play by Jay-Z and Beyonce. Okay, Rihanna.
YouTubers that have platforms and things that they're trying to launch. A lot of my favorite YouTubers are having various platforms and services that they're always hawking for you.
Mhm. Okay. Anybody else? Last call. Bill Bowerman. Oh, Nike. Okay, cool. Bill Bowerman. Cool, cool. All right, and that's about it. So I'm gonna give you back the screen, Mark.
Okay.
And let me keep it. Let me.
Okay.
All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed the game. I know it's so weird because of COVID times and just doing stuff on Zoom. But next slide, please. Yes, so celebrities, they typically have a strong enough platform to market these types of products and services. But the regular day entrepreneur has limited resources, which goes back to what we were saying. Like, do you need resources, or do you need an expounding amount of resources to start out as an entrepreneur? And the answer is no. So entrepreneurs are typically solution-oriented people, and they even seeking for a problem that they could potentially solve with a business solution. So that just means to say that when there's a specific type of problem or certain issues, such as say climate change, a business can arise out of that. And sometimes entrepreneurs must be comfortable with taking risks, developing products and starting their own business or service. And so just to ask a few questions for you guys can answer your the questions in the chat or come off mute. I believe Kay will bring you up, but was it hard for you to think of an artist or celebrity with a brand, business, or product? I'm gonna give that like a good 10 seconds. It was hard. Okay. I can respect that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this was a critical thinking exercise then. I'm seeing.
Yeah, looks like it. This is okay.
Cool, cool. So do you believe that the celebrity entrepreneurs marketing their products solved the actual problem? Christopher says yes, 4-2. Okay.
And okay. And again, yeah, just do yes or no here, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Wait a few more seconds for that. I want everybody to have a chance to share. No. The on it. Oh, so
yes.
do it funny.
They are the product. They are the product sometimes, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then lastly, do you think these products are a direct reflection of the celebrity entrepreneur? Why or why not? You can include the example too. So.
All right, a couple more seconds.
It's okay. This is a longer question, so give them a bit more time. Okay. Yes, because they are the face of the product, and if something goes wrong, it would be directly tied to them. That is a good point. That's a good point, Ava. And then usually they are because they try not to make it in the image of a celebrity. Okay, I can respect that too. So it seems like you guys are kind of well versed in like these celebrity entrepreneurs that are out there. Like Mark said earlier, just about anybody can be an entrepreneur. And with that being said, I previously mentioned that celebrities in themselves already have a platform. So think of you coming out and emerging yourself, and you're not a rapper, or you're not a a basketball player or something like that. You probably have to work 10 times harder, but that's okay because you might meet those basketball players and those artists along the way. So you never know. But next slide.
And then a lot of that, right? And we're closing, but a lot of that is, and don't think about it as well. They have a lot of people behind them that are the entrepreneurs that are helping them. So maybe they're just the brand in the face, but they have a whole infrastructure. You don't need that infrastructure, but it's good, that you're aware of it. So, because as an entrepreneur, you need to build that for yourself, even if you're not a celebrity. So with that, I think that's the end of our presentation for today. So I want to thank you all for your time and attention and interaction. But I know you all, just if you wanted some more sort of context, I believe most of you have the Where Good Ideas Come From. That's the book that we saw the video from, and I believe that's shared, the City Bowie shared with you. If you're more interested about the 10 types of innovation, that's another book that's available. Didn't make it available, but if you're interested in that, send us a note and we'll direct you to it. And then for each of the topics we covered today, there's a reference links that'll be in the presentation and when it's posted that you can learn more. So when we talk about innovation, what are the mind of the innovator? What are the essential skills? What's some insights from research? Again, more about the entrepreneurial mindset. 5 everything, risk taking is big. So 5 things every entrepreneur should know. And then how do we define and expand our definition of entrepreneurship? Because one thing, like I said, with a grit and a good idea, grit, anyone can be an entrepreneur. We want to make sure that's communicated. And then the last set of links is really around opportunities. How to really change your mindset to see problems as opportunities. I did a brief exercise, but there's a lot of writing, thinking, research, and links about that. And then being a social entrepreneur, right? Solving community-based problems. How do they see problems as opportunities? And then why social entrepreneurship is the new business model, right? Not just being an entrepreneur for the sake of, revenue and profit, being an entrepreneur to solve a social problem or make society better. We'll talk a little bit more about that, the sustainable development goals in the next session, but we just wanted you to have some links to reiterate some of the concepts. So with that, we're going to have a preview and really talk about, the closing video, just the industry and the 4th Industrial Revolution, where I started at, and the reason why those skill sets, the analytical, the critical, the innovative, the entrepreneurial skill sets are important.
The term 4th Industrial Revolution is coined by Professor Klaus Schwab, founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum. He claims that the 4th Industrial Revolution will be more profound than any prior period of human history. To understand the idea of the 4th Industrial Revolution, 4IR, or as some call it, Industry 4.0, we need to go back in history and take a look at the 1st Industrial Revolution, which started around 1760 in Great Britain, which was powered by the steam engine. From the late 1880s, the 2nd Industrial Revolution was notable for mass production, division of labor, and electricity. The 3rd Industrial Revolution, known as the Digital Revolution, took place in late 1960s, which in a few decades saw the invention of the computer and the internet. Industry 4.0 is a result of the fusion of technologies. The exponential growth of technological advances are merging the physical, digital, and biological worlds in ways that just decades ago was only possible in science fiction movies. Gene editing, new forms of machine intelligence, robotics, 3D printing, nanotechnology, and technologies such as blockchain and smart materials are profoundly changing the way we live, work, and relate to one another. Bernard Marr, author and speaker on business, technology, and big data, warns that the question is not if Industry 4.0 is coming, but rather how quickly it will arrive. As with big data and other business trends, he suspects that the early adopters will be rewarded for their courage jumping into this new technology, and those who avoid change risk becoming irrelevant and left behind. Connected machines and objects offer a great potential for a 4IR, and experts predict the number of connected devices that will be in use is estimated to reach 75 billion by 2025. The data obtained from these physical devices are then put through machine learning and artificial intelligence processes. As machines become more intelligent, humanity will also grow and become smarter. American author, inventor, and futurist Raymond Kurzweil says, "It's hard to think of any problem that a superintelligence could not either solve or at least help us solve. Disease, poverty, environmental destruction, unnecessary suffering of all kinds. These are things that a superintelligence equipped with advanced nanotechnology would be capable of eliminating." According to Kurzweil's law of accelerating returns, technological progress is moving ahead at an exponential rate, especially in information technologies. This means today's best tools will help us build even better tools tomorrow, fueling this acceleration. Although there are many people who are enthusiastic and want to learn more about IoT, blockchain, bioengineering, and AI, 4IR, portrayed in cinema and literature, have instilled in us a sense of dread at the thought of an AI going rogue, like in the movie Terminator. The blending of biology and engineering is another key component of 4IR that we are already witnessing. Biomedical gerontologist Aubrey de Grey says he believes that, thanks to imminent advances in technology, the first person to live up to age 1000 is likely alive today. But bioengineering brings new areas of concern and debate as well. A newly published paper has revealed that Chinese scientists have added human genes to the brains of monkeys. This did not sit well with other researchers in the field and drew heavy criticism for crossing the chimera line. Monkeys are far closer to humans on the evolutionary ladder than mice, and many feared that endowing them with human genes related to brain function could inadvertently give them a stronger sense of self-awareness. The more we anticipate and debate the most powerful technological revolution to date, the better we can guide the development toward outcomes that do more good than harm.
So that was just a preview of what we're going to talk about next. We're going to talk more about design thinking, continue with seeing problems as opportunities. But the whole idea is that we're among another revolution, the Industrial Revolution. So machine learning, artificial intelligence, robotics needs innovators and entrepreneurs to think about it differently. So with that, I'm going to close out. These are the last closing slides. So Kay, I'm going to clean up the links to the videos, make sure everything works. I'll send it over to you, and then you can post it on the site with the materials.
Yep, and as I said, everyone, this slide deck will be available on the website, as well as a recording of this presentation. And I will also pick out the links that Mark highlighted at the end and have those linked in the resources page for supplementary materials that I created for you guys. That'll probably happen tomorrow, maybe by Thursday morning, but I will send you guys an email when it's up. And also, just a reminder, our next course is next Tuesday, starting at 6 p.m. This is just a 2-week course, so if you logged on tonight, please log on next week. And we really appreciate you guys participating tonight. You all did a great job.
Thank you. Thanks for the engagement. Everyone enjoy their night.
Take
All
care.
right, I'm gonna, if we don't have any final questions for anyone, which I do not see any, you're gonna end the presentation. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Thanks.